You're listening to REI USA Podcast, your prime resource for genuine real estate growth. If you want to jumpstart your real estate career, whether in active or passive investing, this is the right show for you. Join professional home renovator Stacy Rossetti as she talks to REI USA teachers and expert investors willing to share their tips and tricks to get started in investing, sharing actionable advice in every area of real estate, all while putting legality, habitability, and safety above everything else. Combine their unparalleled advice with your strong drive for success, and that incredible real estate fortune will be yours. Now, here's your host, Stacy.
Hi.
How are you? Thank
How
you
are
so
you?
much for this opportunity to present.
Yes, and thank you for moving up. I appreciate it. Okay.
No problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Yukiko Nakayama. I'm one of the REI teachers, and I'm teaching a small apartment building. Second Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern times. And I'd like to tell you about how I raise money to acquire a small apartment building. So I'm based in Virginia, and most of my project Washington, D.C. So I typically work on a project where the a lot of renovation needed for either condo conversions or small apartment building. And typically it will take like 18 to 24 months. So our financing is mostly commercial bank loans with some cash from private investors or some other way to fund the equity. And we are currently looking to invest more in a commercial project. And like Stacy, I'm looking for a self-storage facility currently. And our goal is to create the wealth for our partners through real estate investment. So that's our goal. And I've been in business for last 15 years, and I have a master in real estate development as well. So way to raise the fund for us is the first home equity line of credit. It's called HELOC. And if you have a house which appreciate over time, you can be able to pull the line of credit. This actually work like a credit card, and usually they have the bank give you based on the equity on the properties. You can get like 100,000, 200,000, 400,000. In our case, our house appreciate a lot, so we will be able to pull the 400,000 of home line of credit. So for that, we will be able to fund like a small gap on some rehab project where primarily we borrowed maybe 19% of the constructions and the acquisition cost from hard money lenders, and then we use like other 10% from this home line of credit. And initially our project is much smaller. So for example, the first house that we purchased purchase price was about maybe close to 200,000. And then our initial budget of the rehab was like just 10, 15,000, just carpet, changing the carpet, and then changing the countertops, and maybe replace the small bathrooms. That's about it. And then be able to make a 30,000 profit. And for the first properties, we actually use the regular home loans. That was very lucky for us, since the home condition was pretty decent. It's just very old, not updated at all. So we will be able to use the regular home loans. I know most of the people like shocked that we use the regular home loans. But some cases, when you purchase the properties where the market is good and then had a demand, you are be able to capture the kind of premium between the regular old house and the house that completely renovated. So when the completely renovated house is very sought after and then have a higher premium, you can actually buy the homes very old and then not attractive at the regular home loans, and then be able to update very smart way and then capture the premiums by just walking through it. So regular home loans, I think people who may have purchased a home before, you go to any major bank and then qualify for the loans. And then our case, this was investment loan. So make sure you actually say this is an investment loan. Don't try to claim this is your primary residence. That's fraud. So you have to, like I mentioned, that this is investment loans. And then typically they quote a higher rate, maybe 50 basis point or 100 basis point, which quote to like a 1% higher. If your maybe mortgage regular loan is 4%, maybe they might give you like a 4.5 or 5%. And then regardless, the loan, it's much cheaper than hard money loans, which typically like a 8 to 10% the rate. So if you can use the regular home loans, I think you should go ahead to use it. The trick is sometimes you are competing with other cash buyers, then it's kind of difficult. But if you have very good rapport with the sellers, in my case, I have a wholesaler who gave this deal. So wholesaler has a very good rapport with the sellers, and seller was okay with taking a little bit longer than quick cash closing. So that was our first purchase. And then from then, when I find the houses, it's much kind of worse conditions. Sometimes the roof collapsing, there's so much like a damage to the house. So that type of the loans, you cannot use the regular home loan. So we use hard money lenders. To be able to use the hard money lenders, you may need maybe one or two track record to start. If you're really starting, maybe you may have to talk to the private investors. But in my case, for some reason, for this hard money lenders, the one house that I did was enough for him to give me a loan. And then we paid like maybe at the times like a 12% interest rate, and then 1 or 2% point. The point meaning you have to pay upfront 1 or 2% of the loan. It's almost like a premium to the hard money lenders. And then typically hard money lenders is in-house, but some hard money lender actually sell your mortgage to the secondary market in the Wall Street. So this hard money lender is in-house, so he was more flexible for me to work with different type of the lending. So if you have some problems with finishing up the time frames, then they might give you the 6 months, 12 months extensions, maybe with a fee. But if your hard money lender is selling in the secondary market like the Wall Street, you may not be able to get that type of the flexibility. So I think you might want to check with your hard money lenders to see if they are actually selling your note to someone else. So that's kind of good to know so that you may have some leeway or flexibility in your hard money loans. And then private investor, I think I listened to most of the topics, and then most of the people covered about the private investor, so I don't go to in details. But that, like Stacy said, there's very, people who you think maybe they may not have money, but unexpectedly they do have money, and then they are willing to loan to the to your project. So I think it's best to tell everyone that you are working this project, you're working this project. If sometimes if if you have a project that would you like to know, like if you have an investment opportunity, I think some people actually say yes, and then grab those opportunity to make a much better return than they are making in a stock or bank. So I think just keep telling what they're doing, and then like Stacy said, putting on the some what you're doing in medias and stuff like that, social media. So I think it might be good, but don't solicit your investment opportunity on the social media unless you are doing the 50C, which is you can advertise in the media. And then the once you get up to maybe like 5-10 rehabs, then I think you should be really hard to consider business line of credit. This is the kind of like some commercial bank has the business line of credit. I don't know about the Bank of America or something, but for the real estate business, there is always community bank or local bank give you a business line of credit once you establish some track record. So you go to see the bank, and then have some dinner, like lunch, or and then tell you your business background and how you're doing the project, and then they will give you a line of credit. And then one of the line of credit I got was based on a track record, and then also we put some collateral, but we will be able to get another about the 400,000 line of business of line of credit, so that we can further get more like a bigger project, which sometimes we purchase the property close to like $500,000, and then also the construction project is more than $500,000. So I think these are kind of times like you consider next up, and then having a business line of credit, and then give you more flexibility to do the type of the project you can do. Because more bigger project, you can also get the commercial loan, but the commercial loans typically like 75% loan to value, or could be loan to cost. So you need to like get those difference. So when you have $1 million up project, you have to be able to come up about like 300,000-400,000, which if you have kind of create those line of credit, you will be able to make the leap. And then the syndications, I think these are the type of the syndication I don't really dance in as the role of the GP, but I'm involved in limited partners style. So I think the syndication is very good for like a commercial project. I think it's kind of give you a flexibility to be able to take down the bigger deals, but you have to have some sophistication to know like SEC regulations, and then be able to articulate the business plans. And then also if you are GP, like a general partners, you have to be the one execute the business plans in long term, like 5-7 years. So this is something that you can, I know some people do part-time, but I don't think this is something you can pull off if you're not full-time real estate person. And then the next fund, which Stacy is doing, I think if we have like a many project, it's come to the point you raise the fund like almost every month or every couple of weeks. Then I think it's time to probably move up to the fund, and then also you can diversify and then kind of give the investors stabilized return instead of one project that really went like very high returns and then maybe I don't know 3x 5x, but the other project you happen to done very poorly. So I think instead of give these up and down, some private investor like to have a more stable returns, and then if you create a fund, I think there's a lot of benefit to the private investors. And then if you don't want to do syndication or fund, I think there is the structure you can create a joint ventures. Of course, I'm not the lawyer, so please ask lawyer to a detail of the joint venture. But if you come partner with some who has a lot of money but they don't have a times, but he or she want to be very hands-on, then you can partner with this person. But this person also have to be very involved in a project. Otherwise, I think it's invalid the joint venture structure. So I think he or she must kind of involve in some part of the business execution, like putting down some part of the EMD or evaluate the project or go to the sites or something like that. So work with 2-3 business partners might make up very well. And then the lastly, self-direct IRA. I think you have some people retirement account, and then you can kind of create the tax deferred or tax saving through this fund. I don't know if we have a time to go through, but I just kind of highlight the HELOC. Again, like most of the major bank offer this, and then it's easy to get, and then fairly low interest, and but it's not amortizing, meaning your loan balance will not go down. So you should consider short-term project. Don't use this for like trying to buy like in a 10, 20 years, because it's not amortizing. So if you borrow 100,000, you still have 100,000 balance on the 10 years. So these are just for the kind of short-term project, flip, something like that. And then at the end of the project, you really should pay off all the home line of credit to pay off. Otherwise, you will get in trouble at the end. And then regular investment residential loans, like a flow is unlike HELOC, the bank cannot pull out the loans. HELOC, anytime bank feel iffy about the situations or inflations or COVID, they can pull this out. So even I had a 400,000, the bank said, no, I don't want to do that. And then they can take out. In fact, they decided to not to do the HELOC anymore. So they kind of, I paid off the loans, but they pulled the business HELOC. So you should be aware, if you are not using like a loan, the HELOC could be, depending on the situation, it can be poor. And then, investment residential loans, and then you have a high down payment, and then those they'll have to make sense to the bank. So basically, you think this makes sense, but the bank probably put the appraiser or comps, and then if it doesn't make sense to the bank, and then you cannot make it work to get the loan. And then hard money loans, I think it's very hard, maybe hard for new person to approach hard money lenders, but I think you should just meet hard money lenders and then have, talk to them like often, how you're doing, and then, you find the, deals, and then, keep making progress, and then eventually I think hard money lender will back this up as long as you are executing and then you're progressing, and then and then the pro for these hard money loans is they are very easy to find. If you go to Lear, they're always kind of sponsor, or there are people there, so it's easy to find. But the con is it's really high interest rate, and then like I said, depending on how they are selling those the loans or in-house, it may not be flexible to extend the loan. And then I'm gonna skip private money because many people already talk about private money. And then business line of credit, I think most of the commercial bank offer to the business. So you should be talking to those business banker who has the branch or in your areas, and then talk to them about the business, and then meet with them for lunch. Those people are mostly like in a commercial real estate related event, so they may not appear in a regular year event. But if you go to NEOP event or some commercial real estate event, they're there. So you should network at those events or ask around to see if you have a commercial bank banker in the area. And then the same thing, the commercial lender LTV is 75. The difference between residential and the commercial loan is take much longer and then more paperwork. And then you have to create your personal financial statement, which take really long time for me. Maybe not for some people. It's like 2-3 pages. So you have to create all your asset, business entity, and then variations, and then you put in a sheet. Basically, your total asset minus your total liability, and then your net asset. So you have to do that every time, and then you also have to submit all tax record, personal, business. Most likely, if you have a rental, you probably have in each LLC, so you have to have all the tax return for each LLC to submit. And then I think the cost of the loan process is also much higher. For example, the appraiser can cost $3,000, $4,000 for one building. So it's much more expensive, much longer. But when you are borrowing, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, I think that's kind of the cost you have to pay. And then if it's a regular residential loans, you can get 30 years terms, but the most of the commercial loan is a 5, 7, maybe 10-year terms, but it's usually like a 25 years amortization. So the payment is not high monthly, but every 5-7 years you have to renew. So that means if the interest is going really up like this environment, you have a refi risk. Depending on how much equity in your building, you may be able to refi. That's a huge problem. the rent is coming in, tenants are good, everything good, but you have a refi risk. So when you're doing the commercial loans, you need to kind of figure this out. When my loan is due, what can you do? If the interest is coming up, maybe you try to refi earlier, even you pay the penalty fee. So those are the considerations you have to do for the commercial loans. And then real estate syndications, I think for the regular person who just started, this is really high learning kind of curves. So if you're the person who can just learn like very short times and go to seminars or boot camp and then you can do the syndication, I think I said go ahead. But if you're just kind of regular person who cannot do this like right away, just start educating, just day one, just go to some seminars or boot camp or budget, and then you just build up and build up. Or maybe you start as a LP, like lending like a 50,000 something to someone and then learn from them. I think it's kind of like, something that you need to really get educated. But the pro is, of course, you can kind of take on a bigger project, and then I think that's the way to go for that bigger commercial project. And then depending on the commercial debt partner, the commercial bank, I think you might be able to not to guarantee the personal guarantee on the loan, which is a big plus. Because when you're borrowing like $3-4 million, I don't think you really want to do the personal guarantee unless you are like 100 millions or 10, like a billionaires. So be able to get to the loans and then without personal guarantee, that's a plus. But you don't have to be doing the syndication. But I think most likely you are probably doing syndications, and then when you are doing much bigger project, you don't have to do the personal guarantee. Most of the small project that I'm doing, like a small apartment building, most likely you have to sign personally on that to guarantee the loan. And then real estate fund, I think I don't do the fund, but this is kind of what I'm gather for like a person who's doing the fund. There's open-ended and then closed fund. If it's open-ended, like evergreen, it's kind of continuous. But the closed fund it's like there's specific period you sign up, and then after the period, no one can come into the fund anymore. So like I mentioned before, you can diversify the investment. If it's like for self-storage, instead of investing in a self-storage, you're investing maybe 10 different self-storage, which might locate in a different state. So if you are located in a different state, I think the economy affects very different by state by state. For example, DC, usually DC is a recession, resistance because the federal government is located here. So I think if you invest in a fund, you can diversify the investment. If you're the ones who doing the fund, you can be able to, stable, diversify return to the private investors. And the con is, this is completely difficult to raise if you don't have a track record. So I totally not recommend someone who's starting out. And the joint venture I mentioned, but I think this is really tricky. Like if you have bad partners, I think kind of like a bad marriage, it's very difficult to break up. So even you have a very good lawyers, and then like the paperwork, people sue people anytime, any reason. So this is very not treated lightly. So if you're doing the joint venture, I highly recommend to get to know the partner who are joint venturing, and then make sure the role that you or each partner is playing. And then, but the pro is, this might be a simpler and then maybe cheaper than syndication. Again, talk to the lawyer who specialize this, but I think it probably simpler and then cheaper than syndications. And then self-direct IRA account, I done the self-direct IRA account investment. You just need to kind of set up with, those provider who specialize. So, some transaction prohibited. If you are related to the person who's doing the transactions, you cannot invest. And then pros, you don't really have to qualify for the loan because that's already in your account. The con is that's the money you already made it. So it's really your money. Like if you have an account in 100,000, that's you already made it. So you're not leveraging anything. It's just only you have a very good tax advantage. And then just FYI, if you have a self-direct IRA, you have to pay the UBIT, like if the project is the leverage, meaning the project has a bank loans, you have to pay tax on the money, even you have in a self-direct IRA, which I find out after I invest in a syndication from self-direct IRA. And to avoid those UBIT, if you have a job or hide or like a business I do, you can actually create what called solo 401k. So that's what I did. I moved my money to solo 401k. And then if you do the move, and then from investing in a syndication from solo 401k, you can avoid UBIT tax. Again, I'm not the accountant, not qualified to give you advice. So please check with your accountant when you are thinking about self-directed IRA account. And then from the investor point, there's a lot of people quit the job and move to the 401k to maybe be able to do the self-directed IRA conversion. So those are the person like maybe you might want to target to get the, as a private investor. But for yourselves, educate, which transactions I'm going to do. If you are doing the self-directed IRA, you can purchase the single family homes and then do the renovations and then do inside self-directed IRA. And then also you can do the actually wholesale inside the self-directed IRA, which typically people don't talk about. For example, I did one single transactions, 50,000 wholesale transaction inside self-directed IRA. If I were to just do the wholesaling in a regular business, then I have to pay like 35% of 50,000 to the IRA, IRS. But since I did on the self-directed IRA, it's already tax deferred account, and then you don't have to pay tax until you start withdraw. So those are the kind of the things that you should learn. Talk to different self-directed IRA account providers, and then get educated on that too. And then takeaway, just start where you are, like a saving, maybe making extra payment to the mortgage so that one times you can get be able to pull the HELOC. What we did was when my husband and I start buying our first primary residence, we start paying like a lot extra every month so that we can pay off earlier than 30 years. So I think we end up paying off like 10, 15 years. So it kind of makes sense, like, if you are trying to use a HELOC, just make extra payment to the mortgage so that it's paid off earlier and then build up more equity. I know you don't want to hear those like, not good, quick story, but that once you got the HELOC, you can use every single times for your rehab. So I think it's kind of worth mentioning. And then hustle, if you need like extra money to be able to pay the mortgage, maybe you might get licensed actually as an agent. So if you get licensed, you can actually start casually, like a renting, find some, if you're a student, you can actually, find a student rental for your fellow students, something like that. And then Bardock, just find the investor who's looking to buy in your area and then kind of tip off, this is the people who want to sell, and then get the Bardock fee. You don't have to get so much education to start Bardock, and then, wholesale and then flip. So I think maybe you can do some side hustle to be able to make extra monies that ways. And then the keys network with mortgage brokers. I think they are your partners. I have one mortgage brokers, he kind of navigate a lot. I didn't know about the commercial bank loan or anything, but he actually like a built in like a 1 year extension, which I didn't know. And then I was panicking at the end of the 1 year, like, look, the bank 1 year, I couldn't finish the construction, what to do? And then he's like very casually said, yeah, I built in the 1 year extension, don't worry. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm glad you know what you're doing. And then I was able to finish my construction in following year. So people, like a use mortgage broker, if you don't know anything, it's worth, like the monies, even you pay extra. And then look for private investor. I think you should, start looking, even you don't have a project, anything like a talking, and then, don't find in that last minute. And then keep track of your deals, financial, take pictures. I'm mentioning to you because I wasn't really good keeping track, and then pictures and everything. So I think it's best to like kind of organize so that whenever it's time come, you can show your track record of deals and pictures and everything. So it's all ready. And then I think that's all I have. I'm not sure. I have a time for questions.
Okay, remind everybody when you teach, okay?
Oh, okay. Yes. This is a small apartment building, second Tuesday. Next one is May 10th, 2022, and then 7 p.m. East.
Thank you for listening to this episode of REI USA. Let these golden pieces of advice clear your path towards thriving real estate success and start making those amazing financial opportunities work for you. If you liked this episode and want to get more of these valuable secrets, be sure to subscribe to the show at www.rei-usa.com. Leave a rating too and share with your friends. Until next time.